Ladies and gentlemen, Independence Day has come early. Today, I think it was today, might have been yesterday and I missed it. The Killers and the Boss did a remake of Dustland Fairy Tale. And it may have just realigned the universe. I'm not even being dramatic, because May a year ago in 2020, I was discussing with my best friend how Dustland Fairy Tale legitimately sounds like it was written about Bruce Springsteen and is written in the style of his songs. Like, it's such a Bruce song. And I was like, am I crazier for thinking this? And she's like, no, I can hear it. And, with the lyrical styling and the little sort of snapshot descriptions of characters, uh, and the fact that Bruce could literally qualify as the slick chrome American prince in the song. Like, he looks like a slick chrome American prince, at least in the Darkness on the Edge of Town era. And the river. So it's a song that could have been written by Bruce or about Bruce being done 10 years after it came out with Bruce. It's Bruceception. And then also the theme of the song, to me, at least as I have interpreted it myself, is very similar to Bruce songs, where it's about not giving hope. I mean, because the protagonist is Cinderella and the antagonist is the devil in the song, and we're like, okay, well that's weird, we're crossing over fairy tales and the Bible, fun times, but it makes sense because Cinderella sort of represents that 1950s optimism of if you work hard it'll all work out, which is very much sort of a theme of Bruce's songs. It's the hardworking man trying to figure out how to make it work. And so you've got sort of the spirit of America in the form of the underdog princess, and she's about to give up. She's like, apathy seems like a fun time now. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna let the country go to hell. Doesn't matter anymore. And in Dustland Fairy Tale, the devil's, getting ready to come in for the kill. And the spirit of Cinderella, the spirit of things suck, but we're still gonna get through it, and it will all work out in the end, is dying. She's gonna go take a nap and let the devil come in for the kill, which is no bueno, and the singer is sort of pleading with her to not go into, the coma of non-resistance and giving up the fight, because then it gets really sad. Then you're not even trying. It's one thing to fight and lose, it's one thing to not fight at all. And so, that being a very sort of Brucean theme, and then to be covered by Bruce and the Killers together, it's too much for my little brain to handle. The fact that I was literally discussing the song in relation to Bruce a year ago, in relation to the fact that he could reasonably be the slick chrome American prince, in relation to the fact that the song sounds thematically like something he could have written. I mean, even the line "slick chrome American prince," it either sounds like it's about Bruce or like something that Bruce could have written. And, I mean, he's got all the shutdown strangers and hot rod angels. It totally could have the slick chrome American princes and Cinderella and be just as accurate in racing the street. So, the fact of all the Killer songs, the fact the Killers and the Bruce are collaborating at all is amazing. Did I just call him the Bruce? Oh well. Springy the Bruce instead of Robert the Bruce. No, the fact they're collaborating at all is the wedding of two amazing, influential things in my life. And the fact that they're doing a song together that felt so Bruce from the beginning is just did they know? Did Brandon Flowers write that about Bruce? I want to know. I mean, because apparently I read up, and apparently Bruce messaged Brandon earlier last year being like, we should do a collaboration on Dustland. And I'm like, so you want to sing a song that's about you, Bruce? Because that song seems pretty descriptive. It's such a Bruce song in all possible meanings of that sentence. And for that to be the one that they did, it's just, I'm still pinching myself that, like, this is real and I haven't slipped off into some Twilight Zone where fantasies come true. And my favorite band, like, the only modern band I'm not ashamed to admit that I've ever liked, and that I still enjoy, you know, because, like, the Goo Dolls haven't done anything in goodness knows how long that I know of. Nothing of note, whereas Battleborn was one of the best Killers album, and it's one of the most recent two, or maybe they put out another one since. Wonderful, wonderful. But anyways, you know, it's one of their best albums, and it's not one of their first three. So it's just like the Killers and the Boss got together and did a song, and it just happens to be the song that sounds like it's about the boss. It's kind of short-circuiting my brain, and I'm like, is this real? Because it's such a Bruce-style song, the whole, like, not giving up hope, continuing to persevere and fight, the nostalgia of, you know, 50s references with car racing and stuff like that. It's such a Bruce song. I mean, like, the whole call to keep fighting, like, that world that existed before Vietnam still exists, even though we know it doesn't, like, just because the world is a crappy place, and we're now far more aware of that than the pre-Vietnam generations were, doesn't mean we just give in and give up and throw in the towel and eat our Cheetos and let the world go to hell. So, like, that's like the premise of Dustland Fairy Tale. It's, you know, the devil versus Cinderella when it comes to the field of, you know, still feeling, still having a heart, still being alive and not going to sleep, even though going to sleep spiritually and every other way is really appealing. I'm tired, I'd really like to go to sleep. But I literally can't even, to sound basic, but I really can't. The fact that they did it together is just, well, sort of amazing on all levels. So, like, watch the video. It's good. Bruce is showing his age. I think he aged a lot. I think last year aged everybody a lot. But, I'm really happy this happened. It feels like it's, you know, completed some link in the universe or something, that two of my favorite bands have collaborated on a song that reminded me about the other one. Like, when I got really big into Bruce again last year in, like, April, the line Slick Chrome American Prince just seemed to describe him so well in the Darkness and River eras that it got me back into the Killers and revisiting my, you know, nostalgic youth, which got me to think about the deeper meaning behind Dustland Fairy Tale and the fact that it's a total banger. And that, you know, I vibed without even really understanding it as a teen. I was just sort of like, I feel this. I don't even know what I'm feeling, but I feel like that's the thing with Killer songs. Sometimes the lyrics don't actually make a whole lot of sense, but, like, they do. Like, if you just looked at them on a page, you'd be like, I don't get it. But, like, you hear the song and you get it. It's like a interplay between the words and the music that makes the words make sense when they otherwise sort of seem a bit vague and disjointed. Thus the glory of the Killers, who are, at least in my opinion, the best band to come out, you know, since the 90s, really. Like, they are, they're so good, and got so much punch to them. And Brandon Flowers sings with a lot of conviction, which is another Bruce aspect. And Bruce, along with, like, Bowie and Queen and some other groups, were influential to Brandon and the Killers. So, like, so I'm looking at this now, like, I look like I got a black eye over here. Anyways, so I'm really happy. Like, 4th of July came early, Independence Day came early. It is, my American heart is so happy that, like, my favorite American band of my generation and my favorite American artist of the older generation of classic rock got together and collaborated and made an amazing redo of a really good song. Like, Dustland Fairy Tale is one of those ones that still means a lot to me. It's not one of those ones that, like, I had my phase when I was a teenager where I'm like, I feel it, and then I go back and I'm like, what was I feeling here? Because I don't understand it anymore. It doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, I still died. So, it's... In fact, I understand it better now that I'm grown up, which usually doesn't happen when you revisit songs that you liked as a teenager. You're like, why did I like this song? It does not hit the same. And I'm like, ooh, it hits harder now. This is damn. But, so it's just so good. So go listen to the song. I cannot put into words. Like, yeah, Bruce's voice is not what it once was. But it's the spirit of the song, and the fact that Bruce is doing a song that is such a Bruce song. Even it's like the most Bruce song that Bruce didn't write himself. It's so Brucean. I don't know if that's actually a word, but it is now. I am copywriting and coining Brucean. And on that, capitalistic note of copywriting things, I will end this ramble because I'm still not able to put into words how happy I am this happened. I'm like, pinch me, is this real? Did they really do this? I haven't slipped into some Neverland where, like, things I was thinking about a year ago in relation to each other end up coming true in an unexpected way, and I'm just like, what is this? What is life? I'm having an existential crisis because of this collaboration. It's lit. I also like the way that they redid the instruments on the song. Or not instruments, but like instrumentation. They threw in some strings. They didn't just do the exact same song, but with now making a duet, they changed up the arrangement. It's pretty neat. It gives it sort of a different mood. Almost a little bit more urgent than the original Killers version. Like the version with just the Killers from like 2010. It's got urgency because of Brandon's vocals, but it doesn't really have like urgency in the music as much as in, like with the increasing pace. Like this version with the strings has more depth and body to it, and so it's got like a more of an epic urgency to it rather than just like, let's get pumped up and stoked because rock and roll. It's like, this is next level, like poignant, pleading urgency. And Bruce's vocals, for what they are capable of, definitely add to that, because he goes with the plaintive kind of country style vocals to complement Brandon's pleading, major rock and roll vocals. And this general, philosophical cry for not losing, the soul of Americana and, what the good parts of the past generations, leave behind the racism but keep the optimism of the 50s, basically. And so it's a really good song. Like, it was a good song before. They have taken it to the next level and, like, refreshed and revived it, and hopefully the song will refresh and revive that optimistic perseverance of the post-war world that we have lost post-Vietnam War. There was so much optimism in the 50s, and the 60s kind of killed it. They kind of realized that the government sucked and that not all wars are right. Fighting Hitler is good. Fighting in other countries' wars for no reason is not so hot. Well, there was a reason. It's called making money from the military-industrial complex, but it's not really a good moral reason. It's not like, Hitler's evil and literally going to take all over Europe and murder Jews, handicaps, homosexuals, and anybody else he decides is subpar. So, that being the case, the optimism of the 50s got quashed, and we've been living in this sort of depressed, anti-enthusiastic, generally apathetic world since then. Like, we've been basically feeding off of the successes of the past generations for probably going on 50 years now. We're like, oh, they did all these cool things, and we're going to, sort of build off of that, but like, totally original ideas are kind of scarce on the ground. Go look at the arts. We're taping banana peels to walls and calling it art, and remaking movies like Red Dawn, which probably shouldn't have been made in the first place, and the only redeeming thing about the first one is it had Swayze and Sheen in it, and then they remade it. And I'm like, this was like a crappy B-movie. The original version, you remade a crappy B-movie into another crappy B-movie. The point of this was? And so, the general, like, if we got our spirit back, our liveliness, if we got out of the apathetic coma that we've put ourselves in to deal with how depressing the world is, then the world might not be so depressing. Because it's things like the arts and feeling and being alive and romance that sort of make life worth living. I mean, STEM fields can teach you how to make a living, but they don't really make life worth living. That is the realm of the arts and humanities. A world without art kind of sucks. Don't believe me? Look at last year. How many of y'all watched TV, did art projects, and in some way consumed or produced artistic endeavors? I think we all would have collectively, like, thrown ourselves off of a cliff like a lemmings last year had we not had the arts. So don't underestimate the arts. And good art comes from having an open heart. I mean, think about all the tragic individuals who allowed themselves to feel their pain rather than becoming apathetic, and channeled that pain into wonderful, world-changing works of art. Be it Van Gogh with his, struggles with depression, turning it into beautiful renderings of the French countryside, or things like the blues. I mean, blues and all black music, which it is Black Music Month. All black music comes out of dearth, poverty, slavery, and horrible conditions that they allow themselves to acknowledge, feel the pain of, and then transmute that into amazing art. We have a lot of pain in the world, but we've numbed ourselves in the, post-Vietnam, drug-filled American world. Even if you're not doing substances, the culture has still become, it's uncool to like things, to be passionate, to be alive. The cool people are the ones who stare down their nose in disdain and don't have any feelings other than anger and disapproval at others. Which isn't what good art comes out of. Good art comes out of feeling your own emotions, not telling somebody else what they're allowed to feel and not feel. Thank you, Karens. So, maybe we could think about being more open to our own pain, as much as it sucks. Trust me, you're talking to Miss I don't feel anything independent. I can handle it. I'm fine. Megara type person here, so it's not easy, but it's what makes life worth living and beautiful. Like, we wouldn't know what beauty was without pain, and this world has become really sort of immune to beauty. But we've become immune to all emotions, and that's sort of what happens when you shut down your heart. You kind of lose the good with the bad. It's like the C.S. Lewis quote about, if you want to be safe from pain, something like, if I'm paraphrasing, you want to be safe from pain, don't love anything, not even a pet, because, to love is to risk pain, and the only place outside of heaven to be safe from the pain of loving is hell. And the world around us kind of looks a lot like the latter. So maybe it's time to feel the feelings! And feel the feels. Feel them. And turn those into good things. Turn the negatives into positives rather than pretending that all is negative, there is no positive, and the best way to get through life is to shut down. We need a reboot, not a shutdown. And that is my philosophical thoughts and fangirling over Dustland Fairy Tale today. Me and my lovely Bruce art on the wall. I'm trying to dodge my unmade bed. And my lovely Bruce poster will be signing off and pondering and probably re-listening to that imagining of Dustland Fairy Tale with Bruce and the Killers another, 50 times or something.